Rush had this instinct of what America was thinking and feeling, and wasn't afraid to be out of step. It just was him. It's who he was. I tried to think of somebody that I could put in his category because he's one man. It's not like Roger Ailes in Fox News. Roger Ailes, what he accomplished was a lot, but he took a lot of talent to do that. This is one man and one man's talent. One show, 3 hours a day. Look at how different we are because of Rush Limbaugh. Think of what we know because of Rush Limbaugh. Think of the number of jobs saved because of Rush Limbaugh. Can you think of anyone who has impacted the culture as one man? Martin Luther King had a team around him. I'm not comparing the two. I'm just trying to think who. I thought last night, maybe Johnny Carson, maybe, but Carson was just an entertainer. Carson changed a lot of things, but it wasn't fundamental principles of life. He impacted the culture, but there was no depth to it. It was important, but it wasn't essential. Can you think of anyone that had this impact as one human being? They say you don't know the impact one person can have. He's a great example of that. I don't think people, because those who didn't listen to him were the ones who had the loudest opinions. I don't think people knew who Rush really was. As I said in the opening monologue last hour, that Rush was a quiet guy. He listened. He was a loyal guy. Most of his staff has been with him for 20 years, 25 years, some of them 30 years. He had a 32-year career. To have staff members with you for 30 of those 32, that's pretty remarkable. He's the only guy. They say, oh, he sold out for money. He said these things for money. Did he? You know what he didn't abandon? Not only what his core beliefs were, but he never abandoned the relationship of AM and FM radio. Satellite radio, podcasting, all of that stuff was derivative. In fact, we were just talking about it. Name the person who could die and it's broken, kept completely silent until his own show. He was about his show. You know why people like Rush Limbaugh? You know why people believe him? Because beyond all of the bluster, he was genuine. He has been incredibly charitable, but most people don't know about it. Most people don't know that when you went to lunch or dinner with Rush Limbaugh, if it was exceptional service, or if he found out something about the server that was unique, special, the tip would be remarkable. Remarkable. $50 million to Lymphoma Leukemia Foundation. He and his wife, Catherine, supported the Marine Corps, the Law Enforcement Association, the Tunnel to the Towers Foundation, and so many others. Privately, he changed the lives of multiple people. Privately, quietly. If you had a problem, Rush was there. When people say, oh, I owe my career. When I say I owe my career to Rush Limbaugh, I mean that. Literally, I owe my career to Rush Limbaugh. Tucker Carlson asked me last night on his show how he could remain so optimistic and not get bitter. And it's because Rush and anyone who is in this industry that is smart, you pay attention to the people who listen to you, not to the people who don't. Rush knew who he was talking about. He also knew who he was. See, when people on the left are questioned, which is rare, they don't have to think about who they are or their view, or if that viewpoint could be interpreted as being racist without them being racist. What did they said? How is it that I could be hated by so many people? How many people think this about me? People on the right, we're expected, if you believe these things, you expect going in, you're going to get trashed. Now, you may not know the extent. That may be a little shocking. But you question yourself. If you're a thinking, decent human being, you question yourself. Wow, they said that about me. Is that true? Is that who I am? And you think about your positions because you're challenged all the time. You're not challenged. And nobody's seriously challenging Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Deal. Nobody's seriously challenging. Anybody who's challenging that, they can just say, well, they're a racist. They don't believe in climate change. They're science deniers. And then they don't have to think about it anymore. It's actually a benefit to be pushed like the right is pushed. We have to know what we believe in. When I said I owe my career to Rush Limbaugh, I literally mean I owe my career to Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh came into this industry and he created something brand new. There are no AM radios in cars in Europe anymore. They're shutting down all the AM radio stations. AM radio doesn't exist. Why? They don't have Rush Limbaugh. They didn't have something like Rush Limbaugh to bring everybody back to the AM dial to make sure people were actually using that. I honestly don't know what happens to radio now that Rush is out. I don't know how long talk radio and people like us survive. This is a huge, huge loss because you had to get rid of him before you could get rid of clowns like me. You had to get rid of him. Now that he's gone, I don't know what happens from here. But I owe my career to Rush. You know, I think people thought that this was a slam. At least the media printed it as such. He did an interview with the Today Show. And he was asked about me. Do you worry about the new guys coming up on the block? He's like, no. Well, what about Glenn Beck? Quote, look what I've spawned. Glenn Beck is to me right on. Glenn Beck is the result of my success. He's right.
100% true.
100% right. There's not a lot of people that could say something that outrageous and be 100% accurate. That is 100% accurate.
It's true. And it's not only just political talk radio. Does like sports radio exist today without Rush Limbaugh? Without him saving the AM dial so that so many stations would be able to thrive that weren't just news talk. I mean, the entire sports radio format basically owes its, life to Rush too in many ways.
Rush said on his last show of 2020, just a few weeks ago, that he largely sees himself as a political failure. He said, my career is been enormously successful by any standard. But there's a large part of me that feels like I've failed in such a major way. In 30 years, I've tried to convince people, tried to persuade people, tried to encourage people to critically think on their own, to realize the difference between a conservative and a liberal, the difference between Republicans and Democrats as it relates to conservative principles versus liberal principles. I think anybody who honestly does their job feels that way. Somebody who's doing it for the money, someone who's doing it for the fame, they don't feel that way. I think almost all of us in talk radio feel that way. What else could we have done? How come this hasn't made the impact that we hope? But what Rush was missing, and what sometimes I fail to see, and others, is that we're not a collective. We believe in the individual. We believe one individual can change the world. And that's where our change comes from. Somewhere out there, there is somebody who has been deeply, profoundly changed by Rush Limbaugh. Somebody who's been deeply and profoundly changed by Mark Levin, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro. All of those names I just gave you owe 100%, their career 100%, to Rush Limbaugh. Mount Rushmore of radio could be carved today. On it would be Rush Limbaugh.